Do you ever experience burning and stinging when you apply a skincare product? If that sounds like you, buckle up, because in today's video, I'm going to be sharing with you 20 low to no cost tips to navigate this symptom and get some relief. Burning and stinging with applying skincare products, it's a symptom of skin sensitivity. Tip number 1, consider pat drying the face after you cleanse before applying skincare products. And I know what you're thinking. Don't you always tell us to apply skincare products to the skin when it's just a little bit damp, especially moisturizers? Like, don't they work that way? It is true that applying moisturizers in particular to the skin while it's a little bit damp after cleansing does kind of enhance the overall efficacy, give you a little bit more bang for your buck, if you will, and it enhances the penetration of the moisturizing ingredients. But if you're coping with sensitivity, that can elicit those symptoms of burning and stinging and irritation, and it's worthwhile just pat drying the skin before applying said product. It doesn't mean that the product will not be effective. It doesn't mean the product won't penetrate the skin. It just means that it will do so a little bit more slowly, and for you, the individual going through sensitivity, that's a good thing. So give it a try, see how it works out for you. Number 2 tip is to consider waiting roughly 30 minutes after cleansing before applying whatever product it is that causes burning and stinging. You see, your skin barrier is a lot more welcoming, if you will, to the penetration of ingredients shortly after cleansing, especially while the skin is still damp. By the time you cleanse the skin, even patting it dry, there's still some residual moisture content within the stratum corneum fresh from cleansing, and that's going to enhance penetration of ingredients that might be causing some of your symptoms. Go ahead and try waiting a full 30 minutes, and I know what you're thinking. Who has time for that? You can make some minor adjustments, say in your evening routine, to accommodate this so it's not a huge inconvenience to just wash your face, do something else, come back and finish the rest of your skincare routine roughly 30 minutes later. Maybe that'll help you tolerate those products better. Pay attention to how your skin feels. Some cleansers are too harsh and they can strip the skin of some of its protective lipid layer, making you more sensitive to products that you then put on top. After wash tightness perceived roughly 5 to 10 minutes after cleansing, that's an indicator that maybe the cleanser you're using is a bit too harsh. Modern cleansing technologies have come a long way, and there are such a wide array of hydrating cleansers on the market that deposit behind moisturizing factors on the skin. And this can really help combat symptoms of sensitivity by helping with barrier function shortly after cleansing. If you feel this way, it may be worthwhile switching up your cleanser to one that is milder. Aveeno's Daily Facial Moisturizing Cleanser is an example of a pretty mild cleanser that has hydrating oats in it that can help with skin barrier function shortly after cleansing. YouTube has this new shopping feature. There's a little shopping bag that appears in the lower corner of your screen, and if you tap on that, this cleanser that I'm talking about should appear if you want to learn more about it. It's not an affiliate link or anything of that sort. I just thought I would point that out to you. You also want to question, am I really washing the cleanser off? Am I getting it all off? Cleanser residue left behind on the skin, it can contribute to irritancy, compromise of barrier function, and subsequent symptoms of sensitivity. Some cleansers are better than others in terms of their removability, their rinsability. And any cleanser residue left behind on the skin, it's going to contribute to skin sensitivity. I think this can especially be an issue if you are someone who washes your face at the sink. Maybe you don't get the water all over all surfaces of your face. Some of the cleanser residue may collect under your chin and cause irritation. It may just not be getting rinsed off sufficiently. So make sure you're taking the time to adequately rinse everything off. Tip number 5 is one you've heard from me before. It's one I bring up anytime we're talking about symptoms of sensitivity, dryness, irritation, and that is back down on the frequency with which you are cleansing to just once a day. A lot of people cleanse their skin multiple times a day, and when you're really sensitive, your skin barrier may not be able to really cope with all that. So try decreasing the frequency of cleansing to just once a day. Throughout your day, things settle on the skin surface that can be irritating, and that can further contribute to skin sensitivity. It's a delicate balance, right? You want a gentle cleanser that's going to remove that so as to not aggravate your skin, but you also don't want to go overboard with cleansing so as to remove some of your protective lipid barrier. So try decreasing the frequency of cleansing to just once a day. Pay attention to ingredients and make sure you're not using too many exfoliating ingredients. I have many videos talking about the benefits of hydroxy acids. They help to break down the glue between sticky skin cells and allow for smoothing out of the skin surface. As with anything, you certainly can have too much of a good thing and you can be over exfoliating. Throw in a exfoliating scrub, throw in a washcloth. Before you know it, you are rubbing away a lot of that protective layer. And ultimately what that's going to do is allow for more penetration of things that elicit symptoms of burning, stinging, and sensitivity. Many people shave their face regularly, if not on a daily basis. Anytime you shave, you are in effect exfoliating, and that can increase the chances that you develop symptoms of burning and stinging and irritation with subsequent products. When you shave, whatever you do, do not just hop in the shower or splash water on your face and go in with a razor. Take the time to lather up with a shaving cream or a shaving gel. This is so important because it protects the skin barrier from the razor blade. Not only is shaving gel and shaving cream helpful for reducing the risk of developing skin sensitivity, but it also helps cut down on post-shave irritation, shaving burn, and the chances that you will go on to develop ingrown hairs. Speaking of shaving, do not shave with a dull razor. I know what you're thinking, who does that? Trust me, a lot of people shave with a razor blade that is not as sharp as it should be, and a dull razor, it doesn't cut as well. It's more likely to cause little micro nicks that lead to more barrier impairment, loss of water from the skin, and enhanced penetration of irritants that lead to burning, stinging, and irritation. So make sure you are using a razor that has sharp blades. Along those lines, don't store your razor in the shower. The moisture there dulls the blades. This is especially true if you leave the razor sitting on the edge of your tub. The blades are not going to have adequate time to dry properly. It's going to dull them. Instead, take the razor out of the shower and leave it on a clean cloth to dry fully. A lot of aftershaves, I hate to break it to you, are nothing more than alcohol and perfume, which is drying, irritating, and really doesn't offer you any benefit. Now, some aftershaves are better than others. They have moisturizing ingredients, but at the end of the day, I would say skip the aftershaves and just lean into a bland, basic facial moisturizer to apply to the skin after you have rinsed off that shave residue. By applying just a plain moisturizer, it's going to help with barrier function, and it's going to help reduce transepidermal water loss, and it's going to help reduce the chances that you have worsening of symptoms of sensitivity post-shave. It will also help cut down on the risk of razor burn and ingrown hairs. Speaking of alcohol, tip number 10 is critically evaluate how much alcohol you are consuming. I'm not talking about the alcohol in your skincare products, but rather the alcohol that you are imbibing in. Alcohol can leave the skin a lot more susceptible to sensitivity. Specifically, acetaldehyde, the breakdown product of alcohol, it actually stimulates the release of histamine. Histamine causes dilation of blood vessels, redness, and sensitivity. Roughly 42% of Northeastern Asians will experience flushing and an increased heart rate with consumption of even a small amount of alcohol, because these groups oftentimes have a mutation in the gene for acetaldehyde dehydrogenase. That is the enzyme that breaks down that acetaldehyde. So they're slow to metabolize that. It accumulates and it causes sensitivity. But across the board, that metabolite can lead to sensitivity, and it can make you a lot more sensitive to the sun and to sun damage. Have you recently started a new medication? There are a lot of medications that actually can leave your skin a lot more sensitive to the sun, and with that comes an increased risk of sensitivity to things that come in contact with the skin and lead to redness, burning, stinging. Antihistamines, specifically cetirizine, which in the United States is sold over the counter under the brand name Zyrtec. Also, sulfa antibiotics like trimethoprim, sulfamethoxazole, brand name Bactrim, can increase your skin sensitivity to the sun. Tricyclic antidepressants, namely amitriptyline, brand name Elavil. Chlorpromazine, brand name Thorazine, makes your skin more sensitive to the sun and can make you more sensitive to your skincare products. If you're undergoing chemotherapy, that can impact barrier function as well as make the skin sensitive to the sun, and those two things together definitely can make your products more likely to burn and sting. If you're somebody who takes a lot of NSAIDs, non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs like naproxen, for example, they can increase the skin sensitivity to the sun and make you overall more sensitive. And diuretic medications can dry out your skin. And of course, retinoids, whether they be oral retinoids like isotretinoin, brand name Accutane, or retinoids that you apply to the skin like tretinoin, tazarotene. These can make your skin more sensitive overall. So if you are taking any of these medications and you're noting that your skin is more sensitive, what do? I do not suggest just stopping them without talking to your doctor first. Definitely bring up these side effects to your doctor. Say, hey, I didn't realize this could make my skin sensitive. I'm having a lot of problems. Maybe they can adjust the dose and that might help. Or maybe you can just adjust your skincare routine accordingly and employ some of these other tips that I pointed out in this video. Maybe those changes will help you out while being on these medications that might make you more sensitive overall. It's not just pharmaceuticals that are prescribed to you. Dietary supplements certainly can increase the risk of sensitivity. Similar to oral retinoids, high doses of vitamin A can make your skin more prone to dryness, peeling, and sensitivity. The dietary supplement niacin can cause a flush and overall make your skin a lot more sensitive as well. A lot of energy drinks and pre-workout formulas, they may have ingredients added that are intended to cause vasodilation, but that might cause facial redness and enhance skin sensitivity. So just be mindful of your consumption of those. Number 13 is for those of you out there specifically who have rosacea. It is well established that for many patients with rosacea, certain foods can trigger a flare of their symptoms, including sensitive skin, burning, stinging, redness, facial flushing. Specifically foods that have high levels of something called cinnamaldehyde. These include tomato, citrus fruits, and sadly chocolate. Now this doesn't mean that if you have rosacea, you have to abandon those foods, you can never eat them. But pay attention if you find that your symptoms worsen when consuming like a lot of tomatoes or a lot of citrus fruits, you may want to back down on your consumption of those and see if things improve. Foods with a lot of spices and spicy foods, cayenne pepper, chili pepper, can elicit the symptoms of rosacea as well. As a side note, I have a video all about foods that cause facial redness. So if this is sounding like you, especially if you're someone who has rosacea, you think there's a correlation to certain foods, definitely check out that video because I do a lot more of a deep dive into common foods that cause facial redness. All right, duh, coming from me, you know it has to be in here somewhere, but it's so important, and that is make sure you're protecting your skin from the sun. UV rays from the sun, they do weaken skin barrier function. Ultimately, that's going to allow for enhanced penetration of things that are irritating and leave the skin more sensitive. If you are taking a medication that makes your skin more sensitive to the sun, well, getting unnecessary, unprotected sun exposure is only going to worsen things for you. If you have rosacea, that sun exposure can elicit a flare and ultimately leave you a lot more sensitive. So be very mindful that you are, of course, wearing sunscreen and sun protective clothing when you are outdoors. You're not sunbathing, you're wearing a hat. All of those things that you know constitute good sun protective behaviors. They're really important and they can help get your barrier back on track. Speaking of sunscreen, I would be remiss if I did not point out the sad reality, which is a lot of sunscreens themselves actually burn and sting, especially chemical sunscreens sold here in the United States. I specifically say chemical sunscreens sold here in the United States because manufacturers in the US, we don't have as many filters available to formulate chemical sunscreens as they do in other countries. So that kind of limits the formulas overall, and manufacturers can only go in so many directions with them. And the end result is a product that for many people, I mean many people, not even just those who have sensitive skin, those bad boys burn and sting. If that is you and you're like, every sunscreen burns, stings, makes my face red, try switching to a mineral only sunscreen. So the active ingredients are going to be zinc and or titanium dioxide. Or you may try what's called a hybrid sunscreen. It has zinc and or titanium dioxide plus a few chemical filters that are less likely to cause these symptoms of burning and stinging. And of course, never rely on sunscreen exclusively for all of your sun protective needs. Make sure you're reining in other things like hats and sun protective clothing, seeking shade, and simply not going out of your way to sunbathe. It is certainly worth getting a humidifier for the bedroom. This can help improve the moisture content in the skin, and when the moisture content in your skin is teed up, barrier function is improved because the enzymes that maintain barrier function, those enzymes function a lot better when the water content of the stratum corneum is teed up, and having a humidifier can really help with that. This is especially true in the winter time, but it's a great recommendation too for people who have dry skin conditions like eczema or keratosis pilaris to implement. or if you just live in a really dry climate. Like for me personally, when I lived in Colorado, I had to have that humidifier going all the time. Otherwise, I turned into Miss Dry Skin. Okay, tip number 17 is a TikTok tip that actually is worth listening to, and that is try slugging. Slugging was super popular all of last year, and it continues to be a highly searched topic. What the heck is slugging? It basically is a buzzword for putting Vaseline or a petrolatum ointment on your face. Now, as a word of warning, not all skin types tolerate doing this, especially if you are acne prone. Using a petrolatum ointment for some people can aggravate acne, make you feel overheated. So it's not going to be right for everybody, but it's certainly worth exploring. And while the trend of slugging is to apply the ointment to all of your face, in reality, you can benefit from what I like to call spot slugging, where you just put the petrolatum ointment to really more problematic areas. The cheeks, the apples of your cheeks especially. This is a very vascular area, an area that's a lot more prone to symptoms of sensitivity just because of the nature of the blood flow there. You can experience a lot more burning and stinging. So you may benefit from doing it there, and ultimately you may find that helps with barrier repair, and later on down the road you can kind of stop doing that, things get back on track, and you are better able to tolerate your products. So just plain petrolatum is unlikely to burn or sting. It's definitely beneficial if you are in the throes of an eczema flare too. It can help with getting barrier recovery. When you are in the midst of an eczema flare and the skin is raw, many moisturizers do burn and sting. So petrolatum to those raw open areas, it can really help with barrier function and get you back on track out of that eczema flare without burning and stinging so much. It's winter time, so be mindful of your exposure to cold wind. This can lead to frank windburn, but it also can just dry out your skin and make it a lot more sensitive. So rein in either a barrier cream when you are outdoors, sunscreen duels as a barrier cream, especially those that are water resistant, and physical barriers like a scarf. Have you had any skin procedures recently? Did you get a chemical peel? Did you have a laser treatment? Did you go for dermaplaning? Or have you been trying to do some of this at home? Like maybe you've been trying at-home microneedling, which I don't recommend, or at-home dermaplaning, which I say proceed with caution. If you have gotten any of these procedures done, definitely those can leave your skin a lot more prone to sensitivity. So make sure you are crystal clear with whoever did the procedure, what kind of aftercare you should follow, and stick to that. It's definitely not the time to go experimenting with skincare products and different ingredients right after you got, say, a chemical peel or you had some sort of laser procedure. It's definitely a time to keep things as bland and boring as possible with your skincare routine, focusing on, of course, sun protection. And my final skincare tip is maybe you just need a skincare reset. Going back to basics, keeping things as boring as possible, minimizing the number of products that you use, just go bland, boring. If that involves turning off all social media so you don't get tempted to try things out, by all means. Sometimes that's really what you need to resist the temptation to add more products. I like the saying, more products, more problems, because as you use more skincare products, they do all open the potential to impair your skin barrier and lead to more symptoms of sensitivity. And if you are considering getting a procedure like laser resurfacing, for example, in many cases the dermatologist will basically tell you to do something called skin priming, which is essentially just kind of a reset for your skin barrier to make sure that you are not opening yourself up to an increased risk for post-procedural irritation. If you want to learn more about a skincare reset, on the end slate I'm going to link my video all about how to do it, all about the details surrounding it. Again, low to no cost on your part, so not anything you have to go out of your way to revamp your life around, keeping it simple. So definitely check that video out next. It's going to be super helpful for those of you who do experience a lot of sensitivity with products. But if you guys enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up, share it with your friends, and as always, don't forget, sunscreen and subscribe. I'll talk to you guys tomorrow. Bye.